All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to continue working with our superhero kind of motif this weekend and our week, sorry. And so if you click on the superheroes text set, you have 5 different genres to choose from, okay? So we're going to be working with the novel excerpt today, which is Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. So if you're a Legend fan, I believe she wrote that as well. She's a popular fiction writer, especially for young adult novels. That's the one I'm going to use because that's the one I read. You also have a poem. It's called Chinese Female Kung Fu Superheroes. You have Batman the Animated Series, which is a drama, and it's a video clip. You have an informational article, Why Are We So Obsessed with Superheroes? And then a Batman infographic. Every single one of these is limited to 1 page, so there's nothing that you're going to have to look at that's more than 1 page at a time. So you have 2 different options to download the text set. You can click on this link and it'll force you to make a copy of it. That way you have it in Google Docs and you can comment on it or do whatever you need to do. And then there's also a PDF, because I know for some of you, you have certain extensions where if you upload a PDF, it can read it to you aloud. So I made sure that you had 2 different versions of this. Okay, I'm going to use the PDF just because it's easier for me. So this is the excerpt from Batman Nightwalker, and it's really focused on Bruce Wayne. You've got some dialogue in here. There is a crash where Bruce Wayne is, I think, crashing into one of the Nightwalkers, and there's like this whole action scene in it, and he gets kind of hurt towards the end and kind of passes out. So this is what I'm going to use today. Then you have this poem, again, to 1 page. If you click on this link, it'll take you to the video clip, which is the animated series. Then you have an excerpt from Why Are We So Obsessed with Superheroes? Super short. And then you have an infographic on the price of being Bruce Wayne then and now, and kind of really comparing some of the older versions we saw versus what we see now, which I think is pretty interesting if you're really into numbers. I don't know, I thought like, wow, it must be really expensive to be a superhero versus back then, it wasn't, maybe, I don't know, with inflation, it could be pretty comparable. So once you've gone through it and you pick one of those different options, you're going to click on Venn diagram number 1. Okay. And I've taken the opportunity to complete one side for you. You just have to complete the other side with whatever you chose. And we're going to focus on intended effect, genre and characteristics, and purpose and audience. So you have this example today from the text set. And then if you go back into yesterday's folder, I also gave you the one on the 2 different video clips that we talked about yesterday. So in Nightwalker, or Batman Nightwalker, I'm going to talk about the intended effect, the genre and the characteristics, and purpose and audience. So the effect was clearly to pique the reader's interest, right? There are certain vivid descriptions that you kind of want to figure out what's going on. There are certain phrases that are full of illustrative language where you're obviously noticing that it's suspenseful, and it's also written to where it's accessible to where younger audiences need their interest piqued consistently, right? Like if you're going to read something and it's boring, you're going to put it down. So obviously it's for entertainment. It's to keep them reading. The genre and characteristics are figurative language and imagery, especially in fiction, are used to illustrate action sequences and create believable characters. And so this is pretty much plot-based as a book, but in this excerpt, it's really centered around creating believable characters. So you have a police officer, you have Bruce versus talking about Batman, and you have Alfred in there as well. And so they're all really human and accessible characters, which for younger audiences, we need to be able to see ourselves reflected in what we read. Otherwise, we don't want to read it. So the purpose would be to focus on accessible qualities of being human for someone who appears to be invincible. And so a lot of the times as teenagers, we feel we are invincible. We're young, we bounce back pretty quickly. We really kind of are finding ourselves and what we want to do with our lives. And so we really kind of ignore a lot of the goings on around us. And so for young adult fans of this particular comic, or even anybody at this point, we understand that superheroes are also people, and they make mistakes and they feel things and have emotions. And so the audience clearly is for young adult audiences because you have a comic, but you also look at the author, which is Marie Lu, and she is a very popular YA author of fiction. The language in the text is also easy to understand. There's nothing in there that would overly challenge somebody who's reading it. And it is vivid and action based for shorter attention spans. So I just read it really quick. I took some notes down, and this probably took me about 10 minutes to do one side. And so you're most likely going to be reading a shorter piece or looking at something different. So at the top, you're just going to type in whatever title of the text that you chose and just make sure it's formatted correctly. And then it's color coded. So for intended effect, you're going to type your notes. And so on and so forth. And so the minimum is what I've put for you. Okay. So I want you to match what I have, but for your genre. Okay. Clearly, poetry is going to be a little bit different. Clearly, informational text is going to be different. If you think about it, informational text, we talked about those elements of expository like statistics or dates or things of that sort. And if it's visual, you can use the examples that we talked about yesterday, right? To kind of help you formulate these responses. So it shouldn't take you too long, but you are going to choose one of these text options, except obviously I already chose the fiction one, so don't choose that. Then you'll submit it, and that is your attendance verification for today, because it should not take you longer than whatever a normal attendance question should take you. Okay, it is due by midnight. If you have questions, please jump on Remind and send me a text, or you can send me an email or message me through Schoology. Or if you look at this before our Zoom meeting, make sure you stay back and ask during Zoom, okay? All right, going forward, you're going to be expected to complete one of these on your own without my help. So it's really important that I see your progress today so I can help you fix it for the rest of the week, okay? All right, folks, have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you guys later on Zoom.